Singapore Broadcast Centre. Heavy censorship restricts Malaysia's journalists and artists, but a thriving resistance is emerging. We talk to some of those challenging the system. Critics in Malaysia claim free speech is being stifled and that journalists have been unfairly arrested and harassed. But the emergence of a thriving blogging community means stories that would previously have been kept out of print are now widely accessible. In the 2008 World Press Freedom Index by Reporters Without Borders, Malaysia ranks 132 out of 173 countries, not a good showing. And it's sandwiched between Nigeria and Chad and has seen its position fall over the past 2 years, but still fares better than some of its Asian neighbours. Well, today we're asking how widespread is censorship of the media and arts in Malaysia. Don't forget, we take your questions on the show. You can join us using the number at the bottom of your screen. You can also join our chat room, which is live and interactive, by going to livestation.com. Well, to look at the issue of politics of media and the arts in Malaysia, I'm joined here in the studio by Raja Petra, the editor of the Malaysia Today website, who said he wanted to test how far Malaysia will tolerate and respect free speech. He's twice been under arrest by Malaysia's controversial Internal Security Act. Also with us is Kee Tuan Chai, a veteran journalist who's also an actor and playwright. Some of his works have been considered too risky to stage here. Joe Kukathas is a dramatist and writer who often takes on political themes that deal with everyday Malaysian life. I welcome you all to the show.
Thank you.
Raja Petra, if I can start with you.
Sure.
You've certainly experienced the brunt of trying to be active in the media. I wonder, what do you feel is wrong with Malaysia's media? Why is it failing its people, or is it failing its people?
Well, I suppose our media is a licensed media, and no one can start a newspaper without a license. And we hear horror stories from editors who practically every day receive calls from the ministry about this, that, or the other, which they published. And the licenses are not renewed, and sometimes 2-3 months into the year before the license is renewed. So technically those newspapers are running illegally. So with this kind of very stringent licensing and the way licenses are controlled, and you get calls and you get summoned once a week by the ministry so that they can point out what are the things you did wrong. This is a sort of self-censorship which the newspapers conduct. So ultimately, the alternative media has got to take over that role. So what's wrong with this media is basically we don't have a media.
You've been arrested twice under the ISA, a controversial act as it is, the Internal Security Act. In what way did you fall foul of the law? I know you're regularly questioned.
Well, the first time I was detained in 2001, it was on the charge of bringing in guns, grenade launchers, Molotov cocktails, bombs, and so on. This time around, it's 4 charges. One was for inciting the people to hate our leaders. That's a crime in Malaysia. And allegedly for insulting Islam. So now it seems even insulting Islam is a threat to national security.
Joe Kukathas, I'm going to bring you in here. The ISA allows for arrest and detention, of people believed likely to act in any manner prejudicial to the security of Malaysia, as Raja has pointed out. Now, the government says the law is needed to ensure domestic security. What's wrong with that?
Well, I think that the law originally, of course, was a law that was formed to deal with communist insurgents, and it wasn't meant to have a longer shelf life than that. Then I think when they drew up the Malaysian Constitution, it was put into the Constitution as something that was needed still at the time. But even the Prime Minister at the time, Tunku Abdul Rahman, said that this is only for communist insurgents, and even Hussein Onn much later said this will only be used against communist insurgents. Even Dr. Mahathir in 1966, as a backbencher, said nobody in their right mind, nobody with sense would ever use the ISA because it's against the principles of democracy, yet we still have it.
Who controls the media? Is there any way to pinpoint who is really the ultimate power on the control of the media?
I think it's the government, because as Raja was saying, they're the ones who...
But I mean, across the board, everyone in the government wants to control the media?
I think ultimately they are answerable to the government because the government has to give them the license. So even if you're an independent newspaper, your advertisers will run scared, and you will have to, have your license renewed every so many years. So I think that does create a sort of fear amongst people.
Keetwan Chai, good to have you here too. And give me examples of where you've seen control take place, media and the arts. Where does the hand come down?
Let me start with the arts. For instance, if we wanted to put on a play, we would have to apply for a permit. In the old days, it used to be we had to submit the script as well. And the permit, the script, a copy of the script would also be sent to the police. Now, I've always been mystified as to why the police would be involved in this, until I realized that the police are experts on culture. And so that's been the case. But now we are a bit more fortunate because it seems that you can get away with just submitting a summary. But the most insidious thing is when someone decides to make a complaint or even a police report, and this has happened before. There was a play a couple of years ago called The Vagina Monologues, which was staged here. And it was okay for the first run. And then some religious association in Kedah, which is up in the north, the play was done in KL, made a police report. And as a result of that, the play was banned when it tried to be staged for the second time.
Now, do you feel that there should be some kind of regulation to make sure that content is acceptable? Should there be any, or do you believe in complete freedom?
I don't think so. I think the real problem is, the whole problem with this country is that there's too much politicization, especially of race and religion. Other things are politicized as well, language, culture, and so on. Now, if we could put a stop to that kind of politicization, we don't need any censorship at all. Because what censorship really amounts to is mind control, and when it pertains to Islam, faith control. And the problem is the government doesn't seem to believe that the Muslims of this country are strong enough in their faith. And therefore they must be prevented from being exposed to different views, different information, different ideas.
Raja, if I can put an email we got, because quite a few people wrote in. This one actually came from Malaysia, from Halima Muhammad Sayed here in Kuala Lumpur, who says, if Raja Petra is the patriot and royal son he claims to be, why doesn't he use his talents and literary skills to inspire confidence in the people with sound, substantive arguments rather than feed their lust for rumor and gossip by passing on sensational, unfounded allegations?
Well, I suppose there's, I've always been told there's two things that sell. Number one is politics. Number two is sex. And if it's sex involving politicians, it sells even more. So, I mean, we want people to read Malaysia Today. I don't want to talk about football or talk about Siti Nurhaliza or something like that. I want to, get right to it. And I want to expose all the wrongdoings. Now, okay, I've been accused of spreading rumors. But in Malaysia, 99% of rumors are always proved to be fact in the end, Okay, maybe I missed 1%. Yeah, so sue me. But, okay, you look at the rumor about when the elections was going to be held. As far back as July last year, we said elections are going to be held in March this year, and we said March the 15th. And it was denied until the very last day. In fact, 8 o'clock at night, Abdullah Badawi came out on the news and said, read my lips. Parliament is not going to be dissolved. Next day, noon, Parliament's dissolved. Okay, it was 8th of March, not 15th of March. So I was out by maybe 7 days, So what about Abdullah's wedding? We said he's getting married. He was denied, and he was confronted by the media. He says, look, are you getting married? And he said, you must be listening to rumors. And then we have this massive wedding that costs a few million, which the taxpayers... So, I mean, yeah, which rumors?
What sort of reaction and response do you get from the majority of Malaysians to what you write?
Well, I suppose a lot of them say they trust Malaysia Today's rumors, even though it may not have been proven yet at that point of time, rather than the mainstream media, because the mainstream media is after all propaganda, And initially, yes, I mean, we've been around, for 4 years now, 6 years before that, under the Free Anwar campaign. So we've been around since 1998, Some of the so-called rumors we spread in, 98, 99, 2000, 2004, today have been proven to be fact. So I think our track record is in the high 90s.
Joko Kertas, to what extent do you find yourself having to restrict what you do automatically now? Or to what extent do you self-censor yourself?
I'd like to think that I actually don't. I mean, my company was formed in 1989 in the aftermath of Operation Lalang, and it was very much born out of Operation Lalang, which was, 119 people arrested under the ISA, and a lot of people were very fearful. People said, well, we can't say anything in this country, and it was a time of where people were too terrified to speak about anything. So we decided that we needed to talk very openly about those so-called taboo subjects, such as the ISA, such as race politics in this country. And so I think that we've made a very strong attempt not to self-censor.